Let's get it sparked in here. We're going to get it sparked in here. So happy you are here tonight to join us. Tonight isn't another professional development session or another framework to act. Tonight is about something simpler and more vital. Actually feels alive. We've all had it, that moment when a student's eyes light up, when a question changes the direction of a lesson, when curiosity wants the bell to ring. Somewhere, though, between we stop talking about that moment enough. Tonight, we bring it back to this conversation. I'm Olivia Odileke, founder of Spark Curiosity EDU. Over the next 30 minutes, you'll hear from 6 educators and leaders who are still chasing that spark in their own classrooms and communities. Get into it. We already have our first guest here. Let me bring her. And hey, there we have Leah Linthicum is a Texas-based elementary educator. She was named Campus Teacher of the Year for 2023-24 and HAAB SE Teacher of the Year for 24-25. Leah believes every child, even the quietest one, can achieve the unthinkable. So nice to have you on today. I'll jump right in. We got one question, and you got up to 3 minutes to answer this question. So take your time, be deliberate. I would like you to describe a time when learning felt alive for you or your students.
Okay, so a time where I've had where learning felt alive for me and my students, I teach science. So a lot of times they come and that curiosity, they're used to pushing down. And I'm more the type to make them pull it out. Ask me anything you want to know. Sometimes when we have certain conversations, we go completely off the rails. And for me, that's fine because I want you to question me until you're satisfied. So especially when we get to talking about earth science or phases of the moon and just things that they're kind of familiar with, but they want to know more about. So usually I will talk to them and I'll say, hey, look, if we're ever on a topic and you have a question that doesn't seem like it fits the topic, ask it anyway, because maybe we'll be able to get back to it. So one time we were having a discussion and we were talking about the color of the sky. And that for me is a favorite. So we're talking about the color of the sky. Well, why do you think the sky is blue? And then I just let them give me all of their reasoning. Why it's blue? Oh, because of the ocean. Oh, because it reflects this way. That's the light bouncing off the ocean. That's the go-to. And so when I really got to breaking down to them, and they're 5th graders, when I got to breaking down to them why the sky was blue and it not being in the realm of thought that they were used to, then it was like, okay, well, tell me more. And so what it ended up coming down to, we were talking about light rays reflecting and spreading out. And that's really what makes the sky be blue. It's not the reflection of the water. It's actually a reflection from the sun hitting the atmosphere. So just a little common knowledge, right?
Thank you.
And the kids, they were very intrigued by it. So they're like, okay, so we get to talking about light sources and how light moves. And we ended up actually going about 20 minutes of just question and answer about light.
Just about light.
Just about light and the way that light moves. And that's not even the unit we're in the moment, but it all 360s back. It all goes back because then we end up getting to the light unit. They were so intrigued about it that I had kids going home and looking up different questions. And now they're writing questions. So now there's a section in their journals where they're just writing down questions that they want to know. And we usually do it in the beginning of the year. So it ends up leading to the whole year. Miss L, I got a question. Miss L, I have a question. Miss L, I have a question. And I always tell them, ask the question. And if it doesn't have to do with what we have to do right now, it's going to get answered. By the end of the year, they go through their whole notebook and realize how many questions we've answered just from that.
Mm. Can I just ask you one little follow-up question? What do you
Yes,
think makes that possible for students to kind of dive into that topic? What do you think made that moment possible?
don't turn down anything. Even if it seems like a question that is so minimal or a question that's
Yeah,
so simple, never turn it down. Because once you turn it down, you turn
never
the
turn it
curiosity
down.
off. You
Okay.
never turn the curiosity off. So even if it's something that they feel is to you may feel like, oh, that's a question you should know, just acknowledging and letting them speak that one question guides them the whole rest of the time you're with you because they know that you're going to accept their question and you're going to do your due diligence to make sure they get it answered.
And even if you don't give them the answer, a lot of times you can answer their question with the question
Mm-hmm.
and let them go search for the answer and say, "Baby, you tell me and bring it in
Mm-hmm.
and let's bring it into to the classroom tomorrow." So
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
appreciate you diving in and helping students question what the search is. Making learning alive is also about questions out and realizing the question makes you want to know something. And if we
Yes.
keep asking the right questions, know so much more. But if we don't ask any questions, how can we learn? How can we grow? So
Exactly.
thank you so much. And
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it. And we're going to jump right into our next guest. Let's see here. I'm going to come on board. Uh, we got Dr. Craig Aaron Martin in the house. He is an award winning educator, nationally recognized school founder and CEO of CCM Education Group, a former national distinguished principal and state principal of the year. He partners with schools to build cultures of belonging and strengthen leadership capacity. He is also the author of the book, The Brave Leaders Playbook. So we welcome Dr. Mr. Craig to the house. Hey, Craig.
What is good, love? How you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm successful. That's all I got to say. I'm
All
successful.
right. Come on.
Hey,
Come on.
it's
Yeah.
all about our affirmation.
Yes.
What we say, we become.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got this one question. You got 3 minutes.
Hmm.
In it, swim in it, meditate on. Like you, describe a time
Hmm.
when life for you
Okay.
or your students.
Okay.
That's
Uh,
simple.
okay. Sounds good. So I'm gonna talk about Genius Week. The moment that things came alive for me was during that week, also after. I was a principal of the Michael J. Perkins School in South Boston, proud principal at that. And I asked my scholars to reflect on like Genius Week and being able to really take an entire week where um, we had an entire week where we actually disrupted the entire school day. We actually
Hmm.
had student led, teacher
I
led,
like
parent led,
disruption.
community led workshops. Yes, me too. And so our students created workshops, our parents, our teachers all created workshops, and every student from pre K all the way through fifth grade had an opportunity to go to 3 workshops a day on classes like cooking classes, Muay Thai, kickboxing, aromatherapy, and so many other spaces. And what
Yes.
was and this was actually designed to amplify, well, what is your genius? How do we demonstrate that you're smart beyond just what we do in math and what we do in reading, what we do in literacy, that you're powerful and that we actually center the lives of young people and give them platforms in order for them to demonstrate how awesome they are and if they're capable of doing some phenomenal work. And so for me, when I think about this Genius Week and just being able to disrupt the entire day, disrupt what was possible, it was really about us making sure that one, that this was actually empowering our students, our staff, our community in a way to say that your brilliance is absolutely necessary. And it is what we are going to amplify and broaden in this work, which is super exciting. I also, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, I know you set up the week, but what made that possible? Like, what
Uh,
made it possible?
a lot of trust, a lot of trust. Building it took me about 2.5, 3 years before I actually had enough buy-in, enough people knowing and seeing that I was someone whom they knew was a partner that actually really was invested in their well-being as humans beyond the scope of just the day,
Yes.
and that I would absolutely honor them in all the ways that mattered.
Mm. Well, I
Yeah,
wish I could have been there on Genius
yeah.
Day. Sometimes I'm actually saddened when I talk to leaders like yourself because I have
Mm,
a lot of these as a student, and this is actually my
mm.
drive. Part of my drive is to help more people create these type of feeling inside
Yeah.
because we need to get kids feeling emotional about
Mhm.
learning. And
Yeah.
many students don't feel emotions. That's why
Yeah.
they're dropping out. They don't feel
Mhm.
like it really matters. They don't feel anything with it. So anyway, thank
Yeah.
you so much, Craig, for being sharing what makes learning feel alive for you. We're gonna go and we're gonna bring
Yeah.
up our next educator. Let's see here. This is my first time. I be like learning stuff. You know how you be learning stuff? Oh, there we go. There we go. We're
Mm.
gonna bring on Amber and we're gonna talk to you later, Craig. Bye bye. How are you? Amber Spears is a fourth grade teacher passionate about creating meaningful, engaging learning experiences for students. She is currently pursuing her master's degree in educational leadership while balancing life as an educator and mother. Amber values building relationships, encouraging curiosity, and helping students grow in both confidence and academics every day. We're so happy to have you here, Amber. How are you? Can you hear me, Amber? I think you're on mute. Amber, mute. Hold on a second. And she just froze. Okay. We're gonna come back to Amber. Something is happening with Amber's scene. So I'm gonna come back to her in a minute. It's all good. We sometimes run into technical difficulties. Oh, Amber, can you hear me now? Okay, I can't hear you. I think you're on mute. You're still muted. Are you still muted? Check to make sure. Check one, two, three. Because your volume is all the way up. I can't hear you at all.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, there you go. I can hear
Oh,
you now, baby. I can hear you now.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. It's okay. It's okay. Well, we're going to jump into your question. And again, you have up to 3 minutes to respond.
Mhm.
And answer this from a personal experience, or you can also answer it from your teaching experience. So, describe
Okay.
a time when learning felt alive for you or your students.
Okay. Well, learning feels alive when students stop asking, "Is this for a grade, Miss Spears?" and instead start asking questions because they genuinely care and are interested. Some of the best moments in my classroom are when a lesson takes off. Students are asking unexpected questions that I did not anticipate. And we plan, anticipations. What are the students going to do? What are they going to say? But when they get me, like, "I got you, Miss Spears," I'm like, oh my goodness, what do I do? What do I say? And that's where I allow the students to
Yes.
debate their ideas, make connections, feed off of each other, and just see where the train goes. Sometimes you just have to let them go. It may go over your 5 minute time that you allotted for this question, but hey, when they further their thinking, you can see that they're willing, they want it, And some of them sit back at the end and are like, I didn't know I can do this, Miss Spears. And I'm like, yeah, it's your aha moment right there. So learning also truly is alive when students extend their learning outside of the classroom. I can't tell you how many times I've had students come the next day with a presentation and tell me, Miss Spears, I did this at home. Look it's about the lesson from yesterday. Can I show the classroom? And I'm like, our schedule's tight. Let me see where I can fit you in. But yes, I got you. That just shows that they are doing something not just for completion. They're taking ownership of their learning and showing how they are developing and growing. And, as educators, we focus on state assessments, we focus on standards and the outcomes, and all that's great. It's good. However, it's not truly learning if the students are not taking it beyond the classroom, if we're not allowing the students to be curious. Most importantly, I love to tell my students mistakes are okay. Correct me. When you give them that door and allow them to make mistakes, they feel welcome. They feel like, you know what, I belong. This is where I need to be. And then they want to be there. And then you hear people down the hallway, I want to be in Miss Spears' class. Just by letting them just be themselves and grow.
I'm actually thinking of what you just said about the students when they weren't really sure about it. I love those
Mhm.
moments because this is where we can be vulnerable with kids. This is where we show them the genius. That kind of question you should probably get in front of a court, baby. I don't know why you
Mhm.
came up with that, but hey, does anyone else have a question similar? Or is this making other people think based off that question? See, this is how we can put it back. Because see, in the
Yes, ma'am.
past, we were the ones to always hold the answer, but we gotta be free. We have to them. I wonder that too.
Mhm.
Well, baby, I want you to figure and then come back and tell us what you came up with, and let's the best way. And then you take the stress off yourself. You take the stress off. Oh man,
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
I'm an expert in science or math. Why don't I know that? And I don't know.
Mhm.
To me, is the superpower of room because then the students says they don't know. Oh my goodness, because that's why we learning every day, baby. That's why we
Yeah.
learning. Because I don't know. You don't know some stuff right now, but you're gonna become my class for the next few weeks, and you're gonna know from place. So,
Yes, I do.
what do you think made that moment possible, though? If made moments you just talked about possible.
Like I say every year, building rapport. If you don't build that rapport, and I'm gonna tell you that first week of school is very crucial. If you don't build the rapport, provide them with the expectations of what you were looking for every lesson, present those every lesson before you get started, it's gonna come down crumbling. Building rapport as well shows them, she doesn't just want to know what I'm thinking. She wants to know of me. She wants
Yeah.
to know, what do I got? How can I help her? How can I help others in the classroom and not just do another check on her list? Oh, yeah, the student got it. I want to know what they're about,
Yeah.
what they can do. Because a lot of them sit back and say, I can't do it. No, baby, yes, you can.
Yeah.
And you will. And some of them don't have that
And
mentality. But when you instill it, it comes out.
it comes out because you believe it. You see it in them, and you
Mhm.
are speaking what you see. You're speaking. And when you speak to their potential, you build a rapport, then you give them an environment where they can ask questions and I don't know and I wonder. You're actually creating a wonderful, wonderful spark, a wonderful way to start the learning. Well, being with us, high five to you. I like to do high fives like this. Yeah. You want
Thank
to do a high
you.
five for me? High
Yes,
five
high
to me.
five.
For joining us on this special edition of the Spark Live. And we are going to go to our next guest that is waiting in the waiting room. And we will see you later, Amber. Bye. All right. Woo, woo, woo. We got Eric Francis in the house. is an international author, educator, professional development provider with more than 30 years of experience in education. So, I mean, he looking young still. I wouldn't even think he was over 30. He is the owner of
I
Maverick
appreciate
Education and has been ranked among the world's top 30 education professionals by Global Jurists. Eric is the author of 3 books on cognitive rigor, inquiry driven learning. So I am very, very excited to ask him this question. And I like to keep things simple because I think simplicity is what's missing in a lot of classrooms. So you can answer this
Mhm.
from the teacher hat, or you can even answer it from you being a student. So you decide which one you want. But I want you to describe a time when learning felt alive for you or your students.
Well, with my students, and first of all, thank you for having me on your show. For my students, really, anytime I asked them a question that really made them, stimulated their thinking or piqued their curiosity and promoted deeper conversations and communication, that's when really learning was alive, when I could hear it from them. Not that I was telling them what it is, but I could hear it from them. Learning is alive for me every day. I learn something new every single day. I seek to learn something new every single day. In fact, your previous guest was talking about making mistakes and being wrong, which is interesting because please tell me where I'm wrong and please tell me what mistakes I'm making so I can learn. Now that's different from agreeing with you. Like it's not that
Yes.
I can disagree with you. We can agree to disagree, but please teach me something new. Like I always say, well, thank you for teaching me something new. That is the biggest thing. So when my students were alive with learning is when they could share their ideas or share their perspectives and thoughts. And me, learning's alive for me every day. I wake up every morning saying, what am I going to learn today? And that's not a Pollyanna statement. That's the truth. People know me. Like I want to learn. That's why I ask questions.
Both of us are on the inquiry level, live for us
Uh-huh.
now. But when you were a student yourself and you had a teacher, did you ever have that moment
Mhm.
when you were in kindergarten through 12th grade?
Sadly, I probably can count on one hand, maybe,
We
because,
right
I grew
here.
up in the
I'm gonna
80s.
share something at the end,
Yeah,
but I'm right here.
yeah,
Mhm.
I grew up in the 80s. You were taught, you did what you were taught, and you did what you were told, and, God forbid if you had divergent thinking. It's funny, I just did a keynote on that, and my whole thing is about, stop asking a kid, "What's the theme of the story?" if you're not willing to get their perspective and thoughts, because anytime you ask, "What's the theme of the story?" I tell the teachers that the kids have a right to say, "Do you want what I think, what you taught me, or what this book says?" And a lot of
That's
my and kind of like what made me why I am, how I am, who I am is
mhm.
because I understood school back in the day was you did what your teachers taught you, you did what your teachers told you, you got by with a B, you did okay. There was really not that impetus for learning. Now, a couple of teachers, really did push me. My one of my favorite teachers, my chemistry teacher, I could never get more than an 85 in her class. But I grew up in New York, as you probably hear my accent. And
Yeah.
we had these state tests, regents, and I got a 93 and a 98. And I went to her at the end of the year. I said, Ms. Inoki, I don't mean any disrespect, but how come I can't get more than an 85 in your class? But I got a 93 and a 98 in the state test. She said, easy. I taught you hard, so everything else would be easy for you. And that became my mantra as a teacher. I'll teach you
Mm,
hard, so easy. Even when I do with depth of knowledge and questioning, I
yes.
challenge you because the challenge that teachers give you, the challenge that a teacher will give you is much more than what any test could give you. So when we say we're teaching
Yes.
to the test, we're not teaching to the test. We're teaching so that any test our kids are given, they can pass and they can not only achieve, but they can also exceed.
Because the test to me, I never taught to the thinking. And anybody who can
Mm-hmm.
think can figure things out. Like, even if I don't know
Mm-hmm.
an answer, I can use deductive reasoning because I'm a thinker and I can put things and
Right.
look at different scenarios. But with your students, and I love all of that background knowledge you provided, what made that moment possible? What do you think were the circumstances that made conducive to that?
I'll tell you exactly what the moment was. I was teaching about Mark Twain because we were reading The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. and we were doing an author study on Mark Twain. And in my lecture, I said Mark Twain was the original bad boy. And I got back 90 papers that said to me, Mark Twain was the original bad boy. And only one person cited my lecture. Okay. That's when I realized that they were just regurgitating, repeating, but they didn't know why he
Yes.
was the original bad boy.
Yes. They just
So
said
that's
what
what
you said.
good. Right. So I say, why Mr. Francis called Mark Twain the original bad boy, and how does Mark Twain influence modern satire and comedy? That now got them into it where they can give their perspectives. Now, this was all before AI. This was during the age where, we were just starting to Google things. But at the same time,
Yes.
I wanted to hear their perspective. I wanted to hear their conclusions. We need to give students more voice, choice, and action in school. And we need to
Yes.
have them so much, answer questions, but address what the question is asking. And
Yes.
that's how you get them thinking. Like, we don't ask questions just to assess. This is what I talk about my work. You're not asking questions to assess. They have enough quote questions or items that they can answer. We're asking questions that they can address, and we want them to reflect before responding. Don't tell me 2 + 2 = 4, because I'm going to ask you that, but then I'm going to say you're right, but why? And then
Yes.
they're going to reflect on that. And that's what we want the kids to do. We want them to reflect on their thinking. That's why we ask questions.
And the goal opportunities you get to reflect on your thinking, the more deeper the cognitive development is, and the more you feel something is taking place and something's going on in
Mhm.
here, and it feels kind of good. And the more we are challenged, actually, the more fatigued the brain gets, especially if it's a productive struggle.
Mhm.
We actually develop our confidence.
And that's the
So
thing, is the
you
productive
are
struggle.
awesome.
Yeah, productive struggle is something we really need to. I always say we need to engage our students in creative frustration and productive struggle. And I say stop focusing on the nouns and focus on the adjectives of productive and creative, because we're living in a time where answers come free and fast and furious more than ever. We need to
Yes.
have the kids think critically. Well, how did they get that answer? Why is that answer correct or incorrect? What if this? Is it this or that? How else, what else, or how could you? And those are what I say. The 3 questions that will get us teaching and learning with an inquiring mind is why, what if, and how could you?
What if and how could you? I love those scenario based. I think we children need more scenarios in order to also stretch their brain and also make it relevant. And think
Mhm.
about, okay, well, how would you put yourself into this situation? Or how do you what character do you see yourself being in this story and why? And all of these things make the learning feel more alive, because now I'm thinking, my curiosity is going, man, no teacher ever asked me which character I identify with the most. So I thank you so much, Eric, for joining us on this Spark Live special edition, and high five to you. Keep up the
High
good
five to
work.
you back. Thank you.
And keep spreading that love of we'll be doing them later in the future. All right.
I hope so.
We
Thank you
got
so much.
one more person. We got one more person popping up, but before they pop up, I would like to question too, because for me, and I'm gonna kind of answer it from a student perspective. In kindergarten, I actually won an award asking the most questions, and the teacher that she just created. So the curiosity was always there. But here's the thing: a single class from kindergarten through 12th grade, like my learning. I remember playing a lot at recess. I remember being a kid. I don't remember ever feeling magic between teacher and myself. School felt like grades. I was an excellent student. I was pretty much a straight A student. It felt like information being transferred so I could pass a test. It wasn't until college in a Caribbean studies class shifted. My professor sparked a kind of curiosity I had never felt before. I started looking at people and at life it's totally differently. And that is when learning finally felt alive for me. It was very, you know, This is what we have to do before that. But here is what stayed me. That in college, not in third grade, not in middle school, not in high school. It took us, 20 years to get there. And that gap or for asking questions. And the 20-year-old who finally felt the magic, that gap is actually my mission. I do not want any child to wait that long. I want them to feel it now with their own teacher in their own classroom. And I'm so committed to making this feeling. And it's just not like it's not just butterflies in your stomach. This is a feeling that ignites curiosity, thinking, but you start actually feeling like learning has meaning for me personally. And I think that's really our we get students to a point where learning has meaning for them personally, you know. So I am going to take a quick song break because I'm still waiting on one person to log in. So what I'm going to do is actually have a song I wrote for this program. Oh, when learning feels alive, and that is why I wrote this song. I wanted to make learning feel alive. So we're going to listen to the song while I wait on my last guest. And let me go to my music, and we're going to play this. Enjoy it.
When learning feels alive, oh, hey, oh, feels alive, hey, hey. Somewhere between the pressure and trying to keep that pace, we forgot what it sounded like when wonder filled the space. Kids stop raising their hands up, teachers stop feeling seen. Everybody just surviving inside somebody else's dream. Trying to hold it together, trying to give what we can. But deep inside we've been searching for something real again. Maybe learning was never meant to feel this heavy all the time. Maybe hearts were made to open before we ask minds to climb. That's when learning feels alive, when every voice can finally rise, when curiosity opens the door and students see themselves inside. That's when learning feels alive, more than standards, more than grades. It's connection, hope, and meaning being built inside the space. Hey, learning feels alive. Some kids walking, carrying battles nobody else can see. Some teachers barely breathing, still planting seeds faithfully. But one good question changes everything. One moment can shift the room. One spark can wake a learner up and give exhausted hearts new room. We don't need perfection, we just need a place to begin, where students feel they matter and teachers can dream again. Maybe learning starts with feeling safe enough to wonder out loud. Maybe transformation happens when we stop shrinking down. Maybe we were never broken, maybe we were just worn down, trying to carry too much noise without enough human sound. Maybe classrooms still remember what real wonder feels like. Maybe all this still inside. That's when learning feels alive, when minds awaken, hearts collide, when students know their voice has power and teachers stop just trying to survive. When joy and purpose fill the room, when learning finally feels human and imagination starts to bloom. That's when learning feels alive. No lyrics.
I hope you guys write a little comment for that song. How you feeling, man? Could you imagine like going to class and like hearing this song first week of school and and wanting to create that kind of environment, because the key thing is to want to create that type of environment. My people are having a little issue still logging in, so I am trying to get them inside, and hopefully we will work it out. But I am going to play one more song called I Got the Spark while we just wait on these last two people to come in.
Hear me now. Them said the classroom dead, but we know the truth. Every pick me in, they got fire, got proof. Teacher stand up, leader rise, we like the flame, watch reach the skies. Yeah, this one for educator, whoever walked in tired and still gave everything. This one for you. Walked in tight, carrying the weight, same old lesson, same old pace, but a question lit the room on fire. Now every hand is reaching higher. Students' keen minds are awake.
Okay, we were just playing a little music while we were waiting on you to log in. So, Christine Dyer, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Actually, had the opportunity. Christine Dyer has basically been in the school game for 25 plus years, creating very discussion field classrooms where students feel safe to talk and to connect. And she is actually just retiring from a teaching position in Guatemala. And we are just so happy to have you here today. And thanks for joining us from Guatemala. How you doing, Christine?
Th- Olivia, thank you, you and your guests, for your patience. I just want to clarify with folks that this was all my fault, messing up time changes, because I am actually in Fairbanks, Alaska right now, Olivia. So, in the past couple of days, I've been from Guatemala back to my home area of the world, which is Fairbanks, Alaska.
Okay, well, we
So,
got one
whew,
question for you, and you got two
yeah.
minutes to respond to it. And I would like you to describe a time when learning felt alive for you or for your students.
Oh my gosh. The time that pops out in my head the most was when I was asking a group of students to to organize the stanzas of a Sylvia Plath poem called Mushrooms. And there's a certain plan, like a very controlled way of writing that Plath uses, and it makes it really difficult for students to use the types of markers they've been trained to look for, like punctuation and things, to put it together. They really have to read for the meaning of the poem and eventually get to this contextualized thinking that the mushrooms are a metaphor, and they get to explore how they see the world and how the author saw the world, and coming up with ways that, oh my gosh, it's the same, and that opens up all these ways to talk about the human experience, and then kids, they start sharing, and that is the kind of stuff that sticks in my head about learning being alive for everybody.
Mm. Now, let me just add one more little question. What was the
Yeah.
environment like to make that possible, though? Like, what were you
Oh,
thinking as a teacher? Because I feel like a part of it is our thinking, like what's going on in our
yeah.
brain that's going to help
Yeah.
that be possible.
Yes. Yes. um hey, there we go. So what the classroom environment, I would say, intentionally shaped and cultivated by both the students and myself, working together in order to create a space where everybody felt safe to feel the joy of learning, and to experience those cortisol hits, like live and whoa, and when they let themselves, it's okay to look confused and, kind of wear your emotions as you are puzzling through something. There's, I mean, everything from the way that you run your class to all the ways you decenter yourself to, what they see, what they hear. It's all so intentional. And it can also be easy to replicate from space to space.
So if we had to like say it like in one sentence,
Yeah.
could you try to put it in one sentence just for the people that, processing is slow? What made
Yeah.
that possible? One sentence.
The garden of pedagogy.
Mm, the garden of pedagogy. We're gonna have to write a book
Yeah.
together. Let's write that book. The
Yes,
garden
I know.
of
That's what I've been
pedagogy.
saying.
Yeah, to me, it's also like the art of teaching. What all of that stuff you
Uh-huh.
like, this is the art. There was this
Yes.
energy you can't see. It's invisible. But in your mind, you're
Yes.
creating this environment in your mind before the babies even come in the classroom. I've put this lesson together, but in my mind, I want kids to feel safe to express themselves. I want them to be
Yes.
confused. I want someone to raise their hand and be like, I don't know what we're doing. Like, that
Right.
is what I want because that's going to make us feel vulnerable. And when I in the class and we come together and support you in your vulnerability, now you're more
Yes.
open to be like, I don't have to come in here and be egotistical and feel like I know everything
Oh my
or
goodness.
disrupt the class because I feel
Right.
inferior. But I am okay being slow. It's okay because I'm slow sometimes. I need you to like give me one sentence at
Eh,
a time. I can't take the whole
Yes.
paragraph, right? And that's
Well,
gonna be okay.
and Olivia, I agree, and that's why I love the garden metaphor, right? Because the growth of a plant from a seed, I mean, that involves struggle, right? And so to cultivate a space where discomfort does not equal damage, I mean, that's like I said, it's a
Yes.
process like gardening, like growing something that's easily replicated, but it's also an art, like you're saying. It's an art. It's to understand how to nurture the environment so that
Yes.
the students are like blooming at the speed, the rate, everything that they
Yes.
need. And so it's, I think it's all about how you frame struggle.
How you strain. My favorite quote actually when I was like 14, without a struggle, there can be no progress.
I Oh my gosh, I was just going to say that. I love having students paraphrase that quote.
Yes.
And because after that, Douglas says something about men who want the roar of the ocean without the power of the waves, and they want to grow the crops without actually doing any work toward the production. Those people are not, they're expecting to kind of go against nature. Nature is that we
Yes.
struggle, and through that struggle we progress. The
Progress.
myth of learning should be fast and easy, I mean, that is so damaging.
It is.
That so it's an art. It's an art to go against it.
It's an art, and the curriculums don't have the art in them. All they have is
No.
the structure and the framework and the questioning. But it's
Yes.
to the to and these things are not rocket science. But it
Right.
is you got to have and these practices is the art of teaching. These practices
Yes.
and the art of teaching go together. Mindset. Your mind has to be on this
Yes.
spirit that everyone in my class can learn. And if you
Yes.
really go into a classroom
Yes.
and you feel that my job is to spark wonder, to spark questions, to get kids to want to
Yes.
feed themselves, that's when learning is going to come alive in a lot more
I,
classrooms. So
I agree. Can I keep going or is my time
no, we're
done?
gonna I'm gonna bring my last guest on, and then maybe if you
Okay.
stick around, maybe we'll just still talk a little bit, because this
Yeah.
is a topic that touches me because before you came on, I just kind of shared that learning never really felt alive for me until I got to college. And I had a
Yeah.
professor who sparked something in me, but part of my mission is that gap. Why
Yes.
do we have so
Yes.
few teachers that we really remember in our adulthood? And it's because it was so perfunctory. It wasn't like
Yes.
something that you were doing to fulfill your soul. And now when I read and I study and I research, it is giving me so much more fulfillment. So let me bring on Mr.
Yeah.
Roderick Johnson. Thank you so much for joining
Okay.
us. And
Thank
let's
you.
see, it's been a pleasure. And we'll be talking soon. I know I'm gonna bring you, and I'm gonna see you in Austin, Texas, at the Spark
Yes.
Curiosity EDU conference. Sounds great.
Yes.
All right,
Bye.
we got okay, bye bye. We have Mr. Energizer Educator himself, Roderick C.
Yes.
Johnson, the founder and CEO of Energize Educator, a literacy coach and behavior specialist dedicated to transforming urban school environments. He's a former pragmatic student himself turned award-winning educator, and he helps teachers see children differently with a focus on supporting Black boys in urban schools. So Mr. Johnson, a pleasure to have you with us tonight.
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, good. Good afternoon, good evening, good night, good morning to some.
All right. Well, we're going to jump into the question of the hour.
Okay.
Describe a time when learning felt alive for you or for your students.
Can I do both?
You can. You can do both.
Okay,
Yes.
so what I
I
say
did
this
both
in
too.
I know, right? So I say this in a book that I wrote. It's called Teacher Curriculum. But I walked into a technology classroom and I was hurrying up, and teachers, you'll understand, I thought I was late, right? So I was rushing and running and running and rushing. And I got to the door and I'm looking at my kids coding. And I'm like, they're coding, and the teacher didn't have to redirect them, didn't have to talk to them, they didn't have to give them prompts. They were literally engaging in coding websites and making different things to the color, to the font, to the pop-up. I mean, these children that I thought were a little bit academically challenged because of how they showed up in literacy, they were
Yes.
coding. And so that is when I realized that, wait a minute, I had vowed not to do death by PowerPoint when I went to teacher school. But what happens is that indoctrination, when you get into an urban system, they tell you this works, this works, this works, and you start to think about it. But
Yes.
it wasn't until I walked into that room that I had
Yes.
realized that my indoctrination had to fade away. And that the problems that I had, I know, right? The problems that I had with my children not connecting to the content were my fault because
You
I didn't
owned it.
gauge their
You had to own
curiosity.
it.
I owned it. And certain
Yes.
educators don't realize that sometimes we are the problem because we don't give our children time to inquire. We don't give them the pedagogy garden, right? I was watching in the
You
background.
watching
We
in the
don't give
background.
them
You
that,
like
right?
that one, don't you?
Right? We don't give them that. So we don't even give them
No.
choice to even understand the concepts in which we're giving. And so the last thing I'll do is when I walked into, I was contracted to be at a place in Michigan. And I walked upstairs and I said, children, why are you doing these things? And for context, the teacher had told me, oh, my class is upstairs doing God knows what. So I walk upstairs
Yeah.
like, okay, well, they're not gonna do that when I'm in the room. And
Yes.
I opened it, I got in there and they were doing God knows what. I won't tell them what they were doing. But when I walked in, I said, have a seat. Look like something. I'm from Baltimore and I don't know you and I want to know you. but I want to know the you. So I'm going to step back, spin around, and you're going to be where you need to be. Boom, done, right? And I said, open that book. Do you see your face in that book? No.
Mm.
I said, why don't you see your face in that book? Talk, talk, talk. Didn't get to it. I wanted them to say because I didn't write it yet.
Yes.
That's what I wanted them to say, but they didn't say it.
Yes.
So I told them, I said, you didn't write it yet. I said, so you are learning about somebody else's dream because they took a moment to write it. They took a moment to think Shakespeare ain't no different from you. Maybe a different color, but that's a different story. But
Yes.
he ain't no different from you. And half the
Yes.
stuff he did, he borrowed.
He borrowed. Yes.
So when you push at children and you see children for that, that's what changed me. Because
Yes.
systems of oppression show up when you least suspect it. And when you have
Mm.
access to a pedagogy garden, that blessed me so. I got to say it again. When you have access to a pedagogy garden and resources that will support you and
Yes.
faces that look like you, that's when you
Yes.
realize that spark. That's where the spark comes from.
Yes. I love that. So what made that moment possible? I want to know, like, what do you think is in your mind as a teacher? Because I think our biggest hurdle is pacing, testing. I got to follow everything in the curriculum, and this is like our dominant thinking. So what shift has to take place in our mind in order for more of these moments to take place for our students?
I think we have to realize that we're in a system. I don't think we realize that. And I also think that we have to realize teacher brilliance, right? Gloria Lansing Billings talks about teacher brilliance, especially black teacher brilliance. I can only
Yeah.
talk about the black, I can't talk, I don't know. I don't know. I can only talk about the black experience. I don't know anybody else. I'm sorry. And it's Juneteenth, so I got a little bit of oomph, right? Sorry
Yeah,
to
it's
anybody, but
okay.
I'm
Hey,
just saying.
listen, I can only talk about my experience. I can't talk about the South African experience. I can
I can't,
only talk about my experience. Exactly. That's why we
exactly.
need to bring more voices so that we get a better idea of the collective experience.
Exactly. And so we learn, as black people, we learn through art, right? If you notice my background,
Yeah.
I'm a board member for Arts for Learning. I'm in their headquarters talking about art and children and merging it for
Yeah.
curiosity, right? We learn through that. But if we know we learn through that, why do we sit in PD with death by PowerPoint? And
Because there's
so
no
when
art.
teachers
And
start
where's
to,
the art of teaching in that?
and
Where's
so
the
when
art of
teachers
teaching?
And when teachers start to realize that we are in a system that doesn't see us, that's when it happens. That's when it switches. And when I realized that that was the problem, I changed it
Yeah.
and I flipped the script. I love my binder of standards. I love my binders, but there's nothing perfect about what we teach. Teaching is a practice. I want to make sure it's just like riding a bike. You're never going to get it right. No matter if you got all fours on your evaluation, you still have work to do because things change, people change, students change, and ideas change. And if we are sitting complacent in classrooms doing our same lessons we do over and over again, you are participating in taking the brilliance from children. Congratulations, you win.
I think you said a mouthful. And I think I was doing an experiment with this Spark Live. But the thing is, I keep hearing Brad, and I'm gonna
I
kind of
can't believe these
wrap
dogs.
it up. I'm gonna wrap it up, and then you missed my
I'll
song, so
see
I'm gonna
y'all.
play it for you again. I'm gonna play the song for you again, and I'm gonna bring you back at the end of the song. Okay, so I'm just gonna like do my little splurb and wrap it up, and I'll bring you guys back on when I play the last song. Okay. All
Okay,
right. Thank you so much. High five to you for the work you're doing for shifting your mindset.
absolutely.
So tonight we heard 6 different stories, but one thread tied them all together. Learning feels alive when curiosity is allowed to lead and we can see beyond what we see physically in our students. Whether it showed up in a question a student asked, a risk a teacher took, or a leader building a culture where people feel safe to try something new. The through line is clear. Curiosity isn't optional, it's the foundation everything else is built on. And I am just so excited if tonight sparked something in you, I want to invite you to keep that spark going. This July 31st through August 2nd, we're bringing this exact energy to life in Austin, Texas at the Spark Curiosity EDU, the Experience 2026. Not a conference where you sit and take notes. We're going to be focusing on that garden of pedagogy. We're going to be focusing on the art of teaching. It's a room built for educators who are ready to feel that same alive feeling our speakers just described tonight. And I want to end this program. I'd have heard the song already. We're going to play it one more time for the people who just show up in the building them on in case they want to like, swoop with it. This is my show. I can kind of do what I want to do, right? We like sometimes we in our classroom and we don't realize we in our classroom. We can kind of do what
That's
we
right.
want to do, especially when it comes to genius and the potential in our students. So I'm gonna play this last song. We're gonna bop our heads a
When
little bit.
learning feels alive. Oh,
Whoa.
yeah, yeah. Oh, feels alive. Feels alive. Hey, yeah. Hey, yeah. Hey, yeah. Somewhere between the pressure and trying to keep that pace, we forgot what it sounded like
That's right.
when wonder filled the space.
That's right.
Kids stop raising their hands up. Teachers stop feeling seen.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody just surviving inside somebody else's dream. Trying to hold it together. Trying to give what we can. But deep inside we've been searching for something real again. Maybe learning was never meant to feel this heavy all the time. Maybe hearts were made to open before we ask minds to climb. That's when learning feels alive.
When the hearts open.
When curiosity opens the door and students see themselves inside. That's when learning feels alive. More than standards, more than grades. It's connection, hope, and meaning being built inside the space.
Hey.
Alive.
I can't wait to jam out in Austin.
I'm not scripted. I am not corporate endorsed. I am not politically endorsed. I have no agenda. My agenda is the agenda of students finding their potential. That's my agenda.
That's right.
We don't need perfection. We just need a place to begin, where students feel they matter and teachers can dream again. Maybe learning starts with feeling safe enough to wonder out loud. Maybe transformation happens when we stop shrinking down. Maybe we were never broken. Maybe we were just worn down, trying to carry too much noise without enough human sound. Maybe classrooms still remember what real wonder feels like. Maybe all this still inside. That's when learning feels alive. When minds awaken, hearts collide. When students know their voice has power and teachers stop just trying to survive. When joy and purpose fill the room. When learning finally feels human.
I like that one. When joy and purpose fill the room.
Oh yeah, you wait to that. Mm-hmm.
Joy and purpose fills the room.
That's
like
right.
You know what you're doing. You know why
That's
you're
right.
doing it.
That's right. That's so good. That's so good. Thank you so much for what you
You're so
do.
welcome.
Seriously.
And people, you can find more inspirational songs right at fearlesseducator.com. We have more songs that help make learning feel alive, to spark curiosity. It's been such a pleasure to host this special edition of
Yes.
Spark Live, and hopefully we'll bring it back in a couple months. I got some hot topics, but I
Oh
like
yes.
simplicity, and I think we need to get back to what is that thing that's the most important thing. What is the most important thing when you go in that classroom every day and you have 20, 30 kids in front of you every day? What is your dominant thinking? Because I promise you, if it's get through the day, get through this lesson, get through this pacing guide, if that is your dominant idea, we're going to continue to have students failing, struggling, behavior issues. Mindset is affecting how they feel about learning. Our
Yeah.
dominant mindset has to change and say, "Ooh, I get to bring out questions in my students today. I get to help them work their brain, make their brain hurt." That's how they know they're
Yeah.
learning. Exactly. So I'm gonna call it a night. We'll see you guys next Wednesday for the regular 10-minute spark at 4:15 Eastern Standard Time. Bye bye.